So let's back up quickly and talk about how you got here because you were once a car salesperson, right?
Yeah. I think a lot of the guys that see that what I'm doing now, they're like, "You must have sucked at sales," and it was a big step up for me. They offered me like sales manager, running the store with another sales manager. We're doing finance. We're doing everything. We're running everything.
I often see in my own comment section, in your comment sections, right? Various comment sections around the internet where it's like it's very clear that a salesperson has only ever operated maybe in one type of dealership or one scenario. And so they only know it one way.
Yeah.
And they unfortunately learned the business in a bad way. This episode is brought to you by Call Review, the dealership intelligence platform that connects every conversation to performance. From their hosted phone system and AI-powered attendant to real-time analytics, coaching, and reputation insights, Call Review helps you capture every call, understand every interaction, and convert more opportunities. Call Review, where communication meets intelligence. For more information, visit callreview.com. Welcome to the Doug Horner Show. My name, of course, is Doug Horner. You might know me as Benzes and Bow Ties, and I'm here today with Billy the Car Kid. Billy, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Doug.
So you have what has become, I think, one of the most important roles in the automotive industry, which is helping people to buy cars confidently and also kind of exposing how problematic a lot of car dealerships are still. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think we definitely, I guess, toe the line for people and make it convenient for people to get good deals. But yeah, I mean, what we're doing essentially is holding dealerships accountable for the things that we've been hearing for years. And I think, in essence, we're kind of cleaning up the industry.
Yeah, it's always fascinating to me to watch your videos. It's I operate in a dealership that allows me to be incredibly transparent and make it easy, and has always kind of leaned on. That's always to me the way that I think the business works best. But when I watch your videos, I'm reminded that okay, just because I live it every day, what people are experiencing out there is just a mess. I mean, the runarounds that they get, the fact that you can hardly get a price anywhere without being forced into the store. I mean, how often can you successfully get a price over the phone when you call a dealership?
Yeah, that's a good question. It really depends on the area. There is just certain parts of the country that are worse than others, and it seems like every other dealership is playing that game where you got to come in to even talk about the price. And then there's parts of the country that are wonderful. I mean, I can't say enough good things. I can call every dealership, and they're all with it, and it's kind of the way it should be. So it's really hit or miss, but it's the one bad egg spoils it for the bunch kind of thing because it makes everybody look bad, you know, that as a dealership just because of these certain places.
So let's back up quickly and talk about how you got here because you were once a car salesperson, right?
Yeah. I think a lot of the guys that see that what I'm doing now, they're like, "You must have sucked at sales," and that's the assumption. And I always ask them, I'm like, "Man, it's a lot harder to call trained negotiators and try and talk them out of their paycheck than it is to talk to happy, excited people that want to buy a car." So this is a harder job, not an easier job, in a lot of aspects. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of the bad guy for a lot of them, I guess, and it's it's okay. It's a cross I don't mind bearing, Doug.
What made you want to get out of car sales and start to do this?
So I loved sales. I really did. If I have to be honest with you, my heart, I loved it. I couldn't believe that this was a job. No one had ever shown me car sales prior to this. I'd owned my own businesses, and I kind of looked at car sales like, I mean, I hate to say this, but when I'd go to the dealership, I didn't like this salesman. I didn't like anybody there. I kind of
Yeah.
was one of those buyers that was like, "Give me the numbers," and just kind of quick and mean. And
Yeah.
it was the blind leading the blind. My father had never shown me how to buy cars or what to do. It was just, he always went in and angrily left, didn't get a good deal, but felt better that he was mad, I guess. Um, so So I tried to do that too. And up
Yeah.
until I worked in sales, I didn't realize what was really going on at all, right? Until I actually did the job. And I loved it, man. I loved the job. I loved the business. I loved the pace. I loved the money. So I can't
Hmm.
say enough good things about what it taught me
Yeah.
and where it's brought my life. And, that being said, I guess I worked at a really great dealership for a while and I didn't realize how great it was, Doug, because it was my first dealership, right?
Right.
And I then compared it to the next place, and my next position was a big level up. When I was at my first dealership, I was the top salesman, and then I was given a small sales team to try and like be like the ultra killer salesman and have my own
Yep.
special team. And I got my hand as a sales manager there a little bit. Got to give all the stuff that my manager got to look at, I got to look at, and the behind the scenes, which is really cool, right? And I
Yeah.
did good at it, but I didn't really want to stay where I was. My kids lived a couple towns away and I didn't see them very often. So I got offered a position with a dealership that was more local to them.
Yep.
And it was a big step up for me. They offered me like sales manager, running the store with another sales manager. We're doing finance, we're doing everything, we're running everything. And it's one of 13 locations. So I was, of course, so excited to jump at the opportunity to do that and run my own store. That was so cool. And I got welcomed arms, like my whole town, my community. They'd been buying cars out of town to come see me up to this point. So now I was going to be local. I was at a lifted truck place. Everybody in Montana loves lifted trucks. So
Yeah.
this is going to be awesome. And that's when I saw the ugly side of the dealership world. I worked at a place that they did four squares. Up until then, I hadn't seen one, Doug.
Yeah.
And the motto was in the finance office, if they don't know any better, we're always jacking up the rate. We're just any chance we can to get one over on somebody. And it wasn't even like saying it nicely or just articulating it like, oh, let's just see if we can get a little bump on the rate. It was like, yeah, let's get them in the office. And
Yeah.
I was like, man, this is pretty cutthroat here. And I was the manager. I'd taken the position of manager of this place. So it was kind of making me feel like my moral compass was broken. Every
Yeah.
time I did something, I couldn't say no. I had to do it. It was just my job. And the company, being that kind of a company that to their customers, you can imagine how they might treat their employees. Um, I didn't get what was promised when I moved over here. So I was a little upset about that. That
Yep.
coupled with the way the dealership ran, I was on my way out, but then they offered me a social media position as well as the manager position because they had no idea what Facebook was all about. And I was already marketing. That's why I was one of the top salesmen at the other places. I
Yeah.
was doing what Shiftly does right now, every day, all day, way back then. And it was getting us 100 to 150 plus leads a month for my small division over in Idaho. So when I implemented that with the dealership that I was now running, we got these unsourced leads every month, about 150 of them. And they were like, where are all these leads coming in from? And I was like,
Right.
social media. What do you mean? And they were like, would you write our handbook? So I ended up writing their whole handbook, how to do it, how to advertise it, how to make your guys do it.
Yeah.
Um, and that kept me there a little longer. That's the only reason I told you that. It kept me there a little longer. And then I just couldn't do it anymore. Just the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. And
Yeah.
I wanted to stay in the auto industry at that moment. I didn't want to leave it. I wanted to go be a manager somewhere else, right? I even wanted to go back to my old job because I
Yeah.
missed it. I missed sales. I missed that community, the camaraderie I had up there. There was 120 salesmen at that dealership, Doug, and I was number one. So I felt like the king. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
was a pretty cool feeling. And they made it so that when I quit, I couldn't go back to my old job because they were owned by the same corporation. And they just were like, nope, you quit this. You don't get to go back to that, kind of like a slap on the hand. And I felt like, man, that was the last straw for me. I was like, man, I've done a lot. I've given up a big portion of my life for this industry. I haven't seen my kids do a play or a recital in years, you
Yeah.
know? And I think the one thing I earned at that dealership was a place here forever. I have a job here forever. I beat
Yeah.
every record you've ever had as a dealership as a salesperson. I deserve something. And they were like, see you later.
Really?
Um, yeah,
So were both dealerships owned by Sonic?
So yes, I worked at a place called Dave Smith
Yep.
Motors, and it's in the middle of nowhere, two mountain passes, and they get people to come to the dealership by calling. It's a call center basically, and there is no ups, Doug. There is no walk-ins there, none.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I sold 40 cars a month, that was a lot of phone time, is what that was. And I
Yep.
got really great at setting up the deal for people before they got there. That's
Yeah.
why I'm so good at what I do now, because I
Yeah.
did everything over the phone anyway. And yeah, they were owned by Sonic. So they were bought out by Sonic. While I worked there, I actually watched the owners of the dealership get fired by Sonic by, like when you watch Office Space, the Bobs come in.
Yeah.
The Bobs, literally the guy's name was Bob. He came in, sat there for 6 months, and then fired everybody basically and moved everybody around. So I
Wow.
watched the owner of the dealership, Eric Smith, walk out with his whole box of things, get into his Ferrari, and drive off and be fired. While I was
I'm
there, and
assuming
once
that
it
he had,
turned,
like, some agreement to stay on for a little while after selling type of thing?
they just kind of told him get lost because there was a lot of stuff he did. I think.
Yeah.
I don't really know the specifics to be honest with you, but they didn't tell all of the minions, but
Right.
I do know that when corporate took over, a lot of things started changing, of course, and our pay plans changed, and PAC started being a big thing, which wasn't there before. It was kind of the good old boy system before. I mean, when I worked there, I had to go through my 40 deals a month to make sure I got paid right because a lot of times I didn't. Um,
Sure.
yeah, so when corporate came in, the GMs knew each other. They knew of me, and they knew they needed a guy in Missoula, so they got to chatting, and I got offered the job. So
Okay, so you didn't really work in your original dealership for long while it was under, a Sonic store, essentially?
no, probably only a year.
Okay.
Yep.
And the only reason I ask is that this brings up such an interesting point to me, and it's that, you know, one, let me back up and say, you had a similar experience to me where your first dealership was a good one that put the customer, the client first, right? Made it easy to buy a car.
Yep.
If that's your first experience in the business, that's all you know, right? And you believe it to be that way. And I think this is one of the biggest problems that we have in this industry is that if you're unfortunate, unlucky, whatever you want to call it, and your first experience with a dealership is, in a place like where you went to next, then that's all you know. You don't
Right.
know it any other way, right? So I often see in my own comment section, in your comment sections, right? Various comment sections around the internet where it's like it's very clear that a salesperson has only ever operated maybe in one type of dealership or one scenario. And so they only know it one way.
Yep.
And they unfortunately learned the business in a bad way. And now
Sure.
they're defending it because they believe, oh, this is just how it is, right?
Right.
Um,
100%. I had some guys that worked on my sales crew when I came over to that second store that were
yeah.
like that. They've been conditioned like that. They've worked at this store or a store like this their whole life.
Yep.
And they were the guys that when I pull up to a dealership now, I'm like, I don't want that guy to talk to me. I could tell just in like the 10 seconds that I talked to him, I could just like get this, God feeling,
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I knew I was their manager. So I was trying to break them of like being like that because the way I sold cars was not like that at all.
Yeah,
I,
exactly. And it's,
I tried to
I'll give
cater
you
to the customer.
yeah. And I'll give you an example of where I see this the most, and it's on the phone. This is what you do, where it's like you've got certain dealerships that refuse to give a price over the phone. They will not do it. And you have salespeople that will defend that to the death, right? They're like,
Yeah.
you have to come to the store or I'm not getting you a price. And their defense is always the same thing, which is if I give you a price, you're just going to immediately go shop it, right? And look, maybe some people will do that. Sure.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that won't, Billy.
Sure.
I'm telling you that. If you make it really easy and it's a good deal, they're good at that point. They're like, "You know what? This is moving fast. It's easy. I'm good. I don't wanna do the
100%.
whole shopping thing," right? But they believe that, "Nope, can't give you a price. You gotta be in person." And so they, in doing so, don't end up getting a deal because they just make people upset and annoyed that they can't get a price. So it's like, I look at it and I laugh and I'm like, okay, I was a baseball player, so I use the baseball analogy. If you're going to strike out, it's either you're going to strike out looking or you're going to strike out swinging, right?
Yeah,
Used to give a price over the phone, you just watched a fastball go by and
100%.
you struck out, right? If I give you my price and then you just go shop it all over town, okay, I still struck out, but at least I took a swing, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I don't have a bad taste in my mouth as a consumer about you either. Just because I didn't work with you, it doesn't mean I don't like you now.
Exactly. At least people in some I've had people that have said, "You know what? I shopped around, I found a better deal elsewhere, but you know what? I'll give you a call the next time around, or I
Yep.
really like the way y'all did it, and I'll send my friends and family your way." Like some people, and I talk about these sometimes in my videos, like some people are literally chemically wired to like they will shop the entire country before they say yes. They'll actually comically to me lose a lot of good deals in the process because their process takes too long.
Yeah.
But that's just they can't help it. That's the way they are.
Yep.
But they understand still that the experience was a good one, and they will acknowledge, they'll be like, "Hey, look, I'm sorry that I am the way that I am, but for all
Sure.
my friends and family that are not this way, I'm gonna send them to you," right?
Yep. Yep.
Uh, but if you refuse to give a price, that's never gonna happen.
Right. Yeah. I think your baseball analogy is perfect. It really is. I mean, at least swing. At least swing. That's the
Right?
very least. And I say this to. I've actually had this conversation with managers at dealerships where they're like, "We don't get pricing over the phone," and I've said basically what you just said to the
Yeah.
manager, and they're like, and I've had them go, "All right, man, I'm going to send you a price." Like, they see reason for just a second, like, "All right." And I ended
Yeah,
up working with that dealership. It's all he had to do in the first place. It was just ridiculous that they would hold that information ransom. And we both know why they're doing it, right? But
100%.
it's so counterproductive, in my opinion, and it gives everybody a bad name out there altogether because they just assume when I say the dealerships are going to do this, I don't say that there's some that won't. I just say they're going to do this, and you assume they all do.
Right, and unfortunately, there are still more that play games than don't, and it's just I don't know. I love this industry that I'm in so
Yeah.
much. I really do, and I'm also baffled by it constantly. And when I watch your videos and I see Tommy's videos, for example, because he does a similar thing, I'm just reminded of how bad, how low the bar is out there.
Mhm.
And it makes me think of like there really is no other industry where you could have a franchised model and still so much variance.
So much
Like,
variance.
could you imagine? You go to McDonald's, and generally speaking, it's the same experience at every McDonald's, right?
Right.
Now, those are owned by individual
Right.
franchisees, but
Exactly.
could you imagine going to one McDonald's and pulling up to the drive-through and they're like, "Yeah, no, I'm not selling you a burger."
Right. Yeah,
Like,
just totally different experience.
"You
Exactly.
don't look like you could afford it based on what you drove up on, so just keep moving along, sir." Right? And it's
Right.
like, you just it would be wild. Like, no, I'm gonna go somewhere and the expectation is that it's gonna be the same, and it just we don't
Right.
have that in the car business, and unfortunately, I feel bad for a lot of the salespeople that ended up in dealerships that just were or that are unwilling to come into 2026 and the 21st
Yeah.
century, whatever you wanna call it, and it's like they only learned it one way, and they've been kinda ruined because of it.
Yeah. And you made a good point earlier. The salesmen are the ones that are really defending it, right? They're the ones in my comments. And I can't help but think two things. If I really do truly get my best deal, if I come in, wouldn't it be advantageous for you to sell me it over the phone because you'll make more money? First off.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
secondly, why is the lowest man on the totem pole screaming from the mountaintops that you need to come in when it's not his dealership and he's replaceable? It's like he's just carrying out the sales manager's agenda for him because he's so brainwashed.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I this made me think of a question because I've listened to a few podcast interviews and I've read a few things recently, which is kind of interesting. And I want to hear your take on it because you went from being a salesperson to a sales manager, so you've sat on that side of the desk.
Hmm.
First question: did the way that you looked at the business or certain things that you thought about it change at all when you went from salesperson to salesman? Or a salesperson to sales manager, I should say.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did not like the position, Doug. I did not
No.
like being a manager at all. I think it wasn't my forte. I don't do good managing a lot of people because I expect out of people what I can do.
Mhm.
And I hold them to that standard. And I'm kind of hard on people, I realized. So I didn't love the position. I think if I had more time, I would get better with that part of it, of course. But, and I liked the sales end of it. I liked the freedom, um,
Mhm.
and the expectations were lower, I guess, from the
Yeah.
salesperson of my the way I conducted myself. Not that I was being conducted myself bad, but I just wasn't held to certain standards. Um, and I didn't like that I was just my paycheck was going to be this much, and it really. I know that the store did better, I did better, but it didn't seem to reflect big on my paycheck like when I was in sales if I sold more cars.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that that's a point that gets lost on a lot of people in the industry is 2 things. 1, sales managers, there's not I don't wanna say that there's no selling, but you really are you're a manager of people. You're
Yeah,
managing a team, and that's not for everybody, right? Especially for somebody like yourself, and, I my top salesperson on my team is much the same way. He executes at an extremely high level, and he holds himself and everyone around him to a very high standard.
yep,
He couldn't be a sales manager only because he would be too frustrated with everybody that doesn't approach
yep,
the business the way that he does.
yep.
Um, he would always be more successful in sales, and so there's that side of it. The part 2 is that if you're a really great salesperson, you will make far more than most sales managers.
Yeah,
Fair to
I
say?
did. I made way more money as a salesperson than I did as a manager, and I just I kept thinking about going back to sales when I was as a manager. I just kept coming back, and I've seen you so many times talk to your clients, or excuse me, your um, employees when something comes up or they're being snarky or mouthy back to you, and how you handle it is always so beautiful, right? And I could take a page from your book, and I did not have that
Yeah,
in me when I was doing it, or at least not yet. I just the patience wasn't there, and if somebody kind of rubbed me the wrong way, it was like now we're having a serious talk and it's going to be like a stern talk. And those
right.
never go over well. If I'm an adult, somebody stern talks me and I walk out of the office, I didn't listen to half of it because I was angry or upset. So
Yeah,
um, I had, I think I had to have a lot more time in the industry in that role to perfect it. And I think I would have done well, Doug. I'm a perfectionist. I like to do things as good as I can. With whatever I do. I don't care if it's sweeping the driveway, I sweep the shit out of the driveway, right?
yeah,
So
right.
I would have done well eventually, but like early on, I didn't love it. I didn't love it at all.
Yeah. No, for sure. So, and then just to expound on this topic for one more moment, the articles that I had read, and as I'm sure you know, and you probably coach your clients through this all the time, but what the industry has really moved to is that they focus so heavily on F&I, right? Because margins in car sales are generally, if you're dealing with a reputable dealer, they're much smaller than people believe
Sure.
them to be, right? And it's very frequent actually that dealerships will sell cars at a loss, right, with
Hmm.
a greater gain, at least on the front of the deal. Either they're trying to make money in finance, hopefully the right way, not by forcing you to buy things you didn't ask for.
Sure.
But uh, what I've been hearing, and I've kind of noticed it, is that sales managers are weirdly sort of becoming an increasingly rare breed of like having a high quality sales manager in the dealership because there's so much emphasis on finding good salespeople and finding good finance people
Yep.
that now sales managers are making less and less and less, while salespeople are making more and more and more. Finance managers are making probably more than anybody outside of the general manager, and it just made me realize that that's a problem because my belief, and you might disagree, is that a lot of the salespeople that are out there in the world selling cars, they are going to be a product of the sales manager to some degree that they have helping them every day.
Yes.
Obviously they're their own person, right? We're all different. We all have our own personalities, but the way that you learn the business, the way that you approach people in situations, and how you handle them, I think the sales manager has a lot to do with that.
Big time.
So
Big time.
I don't know if you've noticed this, that it seems that dealerships are putting all their emphasis on finance and sales, and sales manager quality is going down, or if you haven't noticed that.
I haven't really, I mean, because I'm not in the industry per se. I'm just calling around, you know what I mean, and talking to different guys. So, and I talk to more salespeople probably than I do managers.
Yeah.
But I have noticed that it's going more towards F and that there is skinny front ends, and that as long as I am willing to let my customer use the financing, a lot of times I can get the deal I want, right?
Yeah.
And knowing that vernacular, knowing how to navigate a deal for a customer saves them a ton of time just because and a lot of annoying conversations with sales managers too, because trying to get across to a customer that doesn't believe you and doesn't trust you, that you're just trying to help, is a really hard thing. But if a guy like me is in the middle and I'm like, hey man, this is truthful, he's not lying, this is how this works. Oh, okay, Billy said I'll do it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I haven't noticed really that I heard Goat for real made a post about that the other day, actually, and it was a pretty good one about the sales managers and their positions, and I thought it was a pretty interesting take on it, for
Yeah,
sure.
he was one of the ones that I heard, and then literally not a day later, there was an interview on a Car Dealership Guy podcast where somebody was making the exact same point. And
Yeah,
sometimes when you start hearing something 2, 3 times, you open up your eyes to it, and you're like, you know what, I
sure.
actually kind of noticed this. But so, Billy, tell me, who is your average client, right? Who comes to you for help to buy a car?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty standard. Younger people, of course, first time buyers. I would say it's probably 60-40 female, 60% 40 male on the first time buyers. As far as the other demographics would be anybody from another country,
Okay.
um, doesn't speak good English, they're nervous, they'll hire us. And then anybody basically over 50. Seems
Really?
like people over 50 just don't want to call the dealership or deal with it. They see that there's a lot of crap going on. They don't want to be part of it. They just want to make sure they get a good deal. They've watched a couple of my lives. I like that guy. They chat
Yeah.
with me. Hey, we're going to do it, and it's not for saving money. It's more for convenience a lot of times.
Yeah.
Just an effortless experience. But for the younger people, it's definitely about getting the payment they want, not getting ripped off. And I love doing that with my younger demographic because, like I said earlier, I went in and bought cars wrong. My dad never showed me. It was the blind leading the blind. So
Yeah.
generationally, I think we have not shown our kids how to buy cars unless we're in the industry and then we just help them do it, right?
Right.
And there's a lot of other kids out there. There's a lot of your daughter and everybody else's daughter that might not have us right there to buy a car. And I think guys like myself, or just even our information,
Yep.
is helpful to make sure that they don't get a bad deal.
Yeah. Yeah. So, would you say that it's mostly people that? So, actually, I kind of hear two different things. So, you've got some people that want to utilize your services for convenience and to just not deal with it, and then you've got other people that are really focused on achieving the deal that they want,
Sure.
and probably don't want to deal with it themselves. So, it actually is a little bit maybe split on.
Yeah.
But do you kind of screen people when you talk to them for the first time to see if it's going to be a good fit?
Yeah, so our initial call, sometimes it's a consultation, sometimes they just hire me before the consultation and I find out when we work with them. But everybody gets an onboarding call. It's the day you start, you're going to talk to our office and they're going to fill in all the details. They're going to make sure that your budget that you have in mind is actually realistic.
Yep.
What you're looking at is going to work. And then they're going to build your profile for the negotiators, myself and Dave. And that's really telling because a lot of people will come on and still open up the conversation with, well, if you're not going to save me 5 grand off the price, I don't know why I hired you. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, there isn't 5 grand to get off on this vehicle. I can get you the best deal that's possible on this vehicle, but that's just whatever the best deal is. Right.
Yeah.
And once I break that down, most people go, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." And here's the basic misconception, though, Doug. Almost every person I talk to thinks that if you're buying a new car, there's $10,000 of profit.
Oh, yeah. No, I know.
Everybody thinks that.
Yep.
And when I tell them, "No, this one only has a $3,000 front end," they're like,
Right.
"Mm-hmm, but there's more, right?" And I'm like, "No, that's really it."
Yeah. And that's kind of where I mentioned before that there's a lot of misperceptions on what kind of margins really do exist in car sales. Some brands have higher than others, but yeah, a lot of cars, there might be, I don't know, 2 grand max
Yeah.
really until you're into the negative.
Right. And then here's why people get mixed up is because we have cars that don't sell for a long time and they do go into the negative with rebates and discounts and it doesn't matter anymore. It's just about getting rid of the vehicle. So now they're like, well, that's not true because I saw Ford selling these for 10 grand off. And I'm like, I know you saw that.
Yeah.
So I like being the middleman though between you guys and them because they do believe me, they do trust me, and I'm not
Yeah.
lying to them, right? I'd have no reason to be disingenuous. So the information I'm giving them sets reality in place, and that's great because every person that I help now has a way better understanding of how it all works by working with us. And even if they don't want to, they get that knowledge just by being there.
Yeah.
And it's great because that's going to perpetuate. They're going to tell others, they're going to hire us. More people will learn that way. And I mean, you asked me a while back, how do you fix the industry? It's going to be with people putting out good information, holding dealerships accountable. I know that me and Tommy might put up videos that are, they're clickbait and they're negative and they show the dealerships in an unfavorable light. However, it's also holding them accountable for the shit they're doing and making it so other dealerships are scared to do that because I might be on the other end of that phone.
Yeah, and again, I'll probably catch some flack for this from people in the dealer community, but when I watch those videos, I can understand how somebody in the moment might be upset that they feel like they're having this call exposed. But I look more at it like, look, you chose to do business this way, okay? And if you're getting called out for that, that's on you, right? I mean, if people don't agree with the way you're doing business, whether it's one person or everyone on the internet watching it, you've got to deal with that, right? I mean, that's a choice that you make.
Yep.
Being, rude and aggressive, name calling on the phone, right? I saw a video of yours yesterday where a guy
Yeah.
called you a weirdo on the phone,
Oh,
right?
and
Like,
yeah, and I cut out so much I couldn't even put it up. But yeah.
yeah, but it's like that's a choice on their part, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you might be asking aggressively for a price or why are you playing these games with me? But at what point does that give somebody on the other end permission to name call you, right?
Never. And
So,
that's just it. Especially if you're a manager, you're expected to hold that profession and keep it together
yeah,
and say, "Hey, I'm sorry we couldn't help you. Goodbye, sir," and hang up on me. That's fine. That would be the much
totally.
better call. And to preface that video, I had been talking to that dealership for a couple days,
Yeah,
and they just couldn't get back to me. Finally, they did, and they told me about the finance thing that I didn't know. Then the guy calls me, the manager calls me and tells me, "Let's work on the deal. Let's get the price you want," because my person just wanted to pay cash. And
yeah,
I said, "Okay, let's do it." So when he sends back the purchase order, it's which we didn't need, we just needed an out the door price, but he sends back a purchase order for the same full price. That's the only reason I was calling is because I just asked him for a discount. He sent back the full price was just to get clarity.
yeah,
I knew why he did it. I knew what I was doing, but I wanted to see what he'd say, right?
yeah,
And he was super nice that first phone call, like overly nice. I was like, wow, this guy's really got good phone etiquette. I liked him.
yeah.
So when I called back, I did not expect that, and he caught me off guard, big time. And lost it. I mean, I was like, whoa, 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 wait, how do I record this, right? Like,
You're right, right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But he when he called back and caught me off guard like that, and that's the first thing I thought, Doug, was that's so unprofessional. If I was a manager, and I've gotten hot before with a customer and been upset or
Yeah,
had a an unfavorable phone call that I wish maybe wouldn't go live. I get it. So I thought long and hard before airing that.
yeah,
I don't like to. I'm not trying to ruin a guy's life, and he had a moment where he lost his shit, whatever. Right? It's not the
yeah,
biggest deal in the world, but I felt like he crossed a lot of lines,
yeah.
and then kept crossing them, and that he should be held accountable for that. And that's probably something that doesn't happen very often at dealerships where managers just have those kind of conversations, but they definitely shouldn't ever.
I mean, who knows? Maybe they do, right? Maybe they happen
Right?
more often than we realize. But it's again, I think that yeah, the accountability for me is the big thing. Where my goal, the only thing that I ever want is dealerships to just make it easier to buy a car, right? We have the industry fascinates me because we sell things that people want, like they really want them,
They
but
do.
like they desperately don't want to buy them because of the experience that they've either had or are expecting to have. And that to me is just so wild because it's like most things in life you buy, but you don't want,
Yep.
right? Like we don't want insurance, but we know we need it, right? We don't need, I don't know, basic, got to buy paper towels again. But like, it's just like you need them, right?
Right.
And it's like, and then when you buy something that you really want, it's usually easy and you're so excited. You're like, "Oh my gosh, I
Right.
just got this new, jacket that I've been wanting forever," or whatever it is. But when it comes to cars, it's like this thing that you're so excited about, but you're like, "I'd rather go get a root canal than go to the dealership to buy this
Right.
car,"
Right.
right? And the way that I see it is that if dealers don't, if they're not held accountable to be better,
Sure.
then they're never going to be better. And this brings me to the part two of this is that one of the issues that I see, and I'm sure you do too, is that some consumers can't help themselves. They get too emotional about a certain car and they go through this miserable process because
Yep.
they feel like either they have no choice or they just are like, "Ah, I just got to have this car." And then it rewards the dealership bad behavior. And so after
Yep.
that, why would they stop? Right?
100%. 100%. Yep. And I think that's the like why dealerships are like come in is because they know that people will get quasi attached when they see the vehicle. They're almost to the home plate. This is almost a done deal. I just got to sign the papers now. And then, I mean, then they offer you these horrible add-ons and a bunch of stuff, and you're like, and you look at the car and you're like, and you're thinking, I got to pull my credit again. I got to go through this again. A dealership down the road's going to do the same thing. I might as well just buy it. And you buy it and
Right.
you talk yourself into it. And that's a big reason, Doug, why I tell people to call. It's not just to negotiate, it's to get perspective and to not be impulsive.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So it's a hard problem to solve because there are just a lot of when there's thousands of transactions happening every day, millions and millions a year, there's bound to still be a lot of people that just they skip past what they know they should do. They follow through on the deal, they
Yeah,
reward that bad behavior, and then it's just not going to change, right?
sure.
So I don't know. Sometimes I wonder how long it will take to fix the whole industry, and it might, I don't know, it might never be fixed.
No, I think I think it'll get better. I think it'll get a lot. It's already getting better. I
It is
mean,
getting better.
yeah, I mean, you can do a lot of the stuff that you couldn't do right online as a consumer now, and just find out a lot of things you never could have known without going to the dealership before. So I think in a lot of ways it's moving that way. Will it ever be perfect? Probably not, just
Yeah.
because of the way it started.
Is there any industry? What do you think has been one of the greatest disruptors out there, either a company or a technology, to kind of help level the playing field or make dealerships better?
So I will say this: you guys have your CRM, right? And when the CRM first came into place, and we were making dealership text messages instead of from our own cell phones, it was pretty cool. But the reason I was really successful, as opposed to all the guys I worked with, is because I didn't listen to the rules. I hate to say that, but
Yeah, yeah,
I didn't like the CRM because I knew if you texted me from a CRM, I wouldn't opt in. I don't want to talk to you. This could be a scam text, even
yep,
if I just called your dealership, right?
yeah,
So I would always send my own number, my own text, right? But I think that that's helpful, like the AI, the CRM, the even the BDC. Okay, even though it's sometimes an unwanted part of the dealership in a lot of ways, but I think it's a necessary evil because you're paying to get these leads, and you don't want to miss a potential lead, right?
yeah,
So I think those are all great things they've brought in. I will say on the other end of the spectrum, for what I do, AI is coming about already. If you look at Car Edge, they've got an AI system that buys your car for you,
yeah.
and it's pretty impressive. I watched the some stuff with Zach the other day, and it. I mean, you would think it's me talking to you. You wouldn't know any better.
Really?
And it worked out the entire deal. It caught a few things on the paperwork I didn't catch.
Wow.
Yeah, and called the dealership out on it, and then got a deal and arranged everything for the customer to show up without ever talking to a single salesperson.
I mean, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, and that made me fearful for my job.
So Car Edge might be one of the great disruptors out there then.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're always thinking of ways to bring it to the next level, and I love what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not the first time that I've heard that, and the other one that comes to mind for me is CarMax slash Carvana. I don't know. It's funny. CarMax has been around for so long that we kind of forget to give them the credit that they're owed. But I
Yeah,
think it started with them, and then Carvana is kind of the shiny new toy in town that is forcing dealerships to be way more on their game with just speed of information, trade appraisals, right? I mean, because
yep.
if you know that CarMax or Carvana is going to take all your trades away, it forces you to, and because they'll give somebody a number in a second,
And
you
a
know,
reasonable one.
right? Exactly.
Right. Yeah, not a lowball one. They'll give you what's fair.
Yeah.
And that's hard to compete with when your whole business model is buy them cheap. That's all we care about, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
I, I, I think I saw a post the other day. I reposted it and I didn't know this information until I saw it. It was just like an AI generated post, but it was CarMax was number one for Google reviews and general reviews in the country.
mhm.
And AutoNation was last, dead last, actually. Like,
Interesting.
yeah, out of reviews. It was just Google reviews, which is not a, that's not fair. There's a lot of other review systems out there, but it was pretty telling. I didn't know that about CarMax. I had no clue till I saw that. I was like, wow, that's really interesting. I would not have guessed that because they're so big. I would figure they'd have so many negatives.
Well, and I think that, obviously, people that have been following my content for a little while anyway know that we essentially employ the CarMax, Carvana model, whatever you wanna say, which is
Yeah.
we are constantly looking at the market to see what is a very good price on whatever it is that we're selling. I'm not going to say I don't like the word best price because the best price is zero, I guess. I mean, or there's always somebody that will do it for less. But if you get a really really good price and it takes 5 seconds, then that's
Yep.
maybe that's what you consider the best price. But just their way of doing business in that here it is, it's a market based number and we'll make it the easiest car you ever bought.
Yep.
And they've proven over the years that people will do that,
Yep.
right? I remind people
100%.
all the time that they're like, "Oh, you can't do a best price upfront model. It doesn't work." It's like, well, CarMax and Carvana would beg to differ
Sure. I
because
mean,
that's all they've ever done,
you
right?
know, thinking about it in the future, the younger generation that's going to be buying cars soon, my kids, right? They don't like interaction, human interaction. They don't. They don't
Yeah.
want to go into the dealership. They want to do everything from their phone. They want it delivered. They
Yep.
don't want to come down and do all that. And not only because they think they're getting scammed, because they don't want to waste their time doing all that if they don't have to.
Yeah.
And it's just the way it's going to go. So this AI model of buying them and anything that's going to be stepping into the new age coming, I think soon is going to be the way to buy cars,
Yeah.
Um it's people my age and older, of course, people love me that are my age because they want to
Right.
chat with me and have a conversation. Sometimes they just hire me just because they want to talk to me, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And do it with me, which is awesome. I love that. That's so cool, right? What a
Yeah.
compliment. But younger people, even the young girls that hire me, they don't even want to get on the phone. They just text me.
Yeah. I
Yep.
know.
They
It's
don't. I'm like, hey, it's Billy. You want to chat real quick? No. Here's all my information.
yeah.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
It's
That's
like
fine.
on the one hand, it scares us all a little bit about their reluctance to have a conversation or human interaction. And then on the other hand, I make the argument all the time that the young generation understands opportunity cost way better than most other people do. And it's just my favorite thing. I don't know why. I was an econ major in college, but explaining opportunity cost to people is my absolute favorite thing in the world. And I always love using the example of there's no such thing as a free lunch. And whenever I ask people, I'm like, hey, there's no such thing as a free lunch. What does that mean to you? And I always like people will try to answer it, and it's kind of crazy to me um, how many people don't get it. And I'm like, all right, I take you out to lunch. I'm paying for your lunch. Then what is that? What do you mean? How could it be true that there's no such thing as a free lunch? And then I eventually have to explain to them that if I take you out to lunch, let's say we drive down the street, we go to a restaurant, even if I'm paying for it, you're there, you're at lunch with me.
Yep.
And if we're there for an hour and a half, you can't do anything else except for sit there and talk to me and have lunch,
Right.
which means that's an hour and a half of your life you can't get back to go do something else.
Yep.
And so this younger generation that's like, no, Billy, I love you, but I don't have time to talk. Right. Here's my
Yep.
information. Go get me the car. And now they're on to other things they would rather be doing.
Yep.
Right? Because there's only and so that's why when I see people who will take months to buy a car, I'm like, "My God, how much
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
much time have you spent on this that
How
you
much
could have
money did
been
you
doing
lose on
something?"
your trade in the last 2 months that you're not getting back either? Like that's
Exactly.
yeah,
But
I
it's like
know.
to them, they're like having so much fun going through the process that they don't care at all about all of that time that they'll go have free lunch all day long,
And
right?
that's a really good point, I think, because a lot of people hire me thinking, "Oh, I don't have $900 to spend on this guy to hire him. That's a lot of money, right?" And then they
Mhm.
realize what they got for their money and the time back that they're not spending doing all the things they see me doing, and they still got a great deal, if not a better deal than they would have gotten on their own.
Yeah.
That's time management. That's money management. That's smart,
If I were you, that's how I'd be selling the service,
right?
'cause I'd be like, "Look, this could take hours, it could take days, it could even take weeks, And all of that time, you get to go work, make money, live your life, do whatever it is you're going to do while I take the beating from the
Yeah,
dealerships, right? And so,
100%.
yeah, it's $900 out of your pocket, but what can you go do with all that time you're getting back now? And I just not enough people look at life
Absolutely.
that way, but that's really the service you're offering.
Yeah, and I've had a lot of people that didn't have many shekels, right?
Yeah.
But they hired me and they were like, hands down, way better than putting that 1,000 down as a down payment. You just saved me so much money, time, energy. I don't know if I would have ever got that interest rate. I thought my trade wasn't worth anything. Like, wow, what an
Yeah.
like money well spent. And they wouldn't have known unless they just pulled the trigger, went with their heart or their gut, and tried it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's fair to say that you're probably, with maybe the exception of those ultra impossible to get cars that just have a massive supply and demand imbalance, you're probably on average getting people huge value, way in excess of the 900 they spend, right?
100%, Doug.
In
I mean,
total.
and just to like add to that, the probably half my clients buy warranties, right?
Yeah.
And if I don't help them negotiate the price at the dealership on a warranty, which a lot of times I do, they'll put me on the phone in the finance office, and we'll be looking at like a $4,000 Toyota warranty. I know is only going to be $2,500 if we talk to the guy. He comes down, awesome. We got a better deal. They just saved what they spent on me
Yep.
on the warranty. They would have bought for 4 grand and not known any better, right?
Exactly.
And they got my service for free.
Yeah.
So, the value's there in so many ways. A lot of people get hyper focused on the price, and that's all they think about. They don't realize all the other facets to a car deal.
100%.
Yeah,
100%. So, yeah, I mean, otherwise, if people couldn't see the value, then DoorDash wouldn't exist. That's for sure,
for
right?
sure.
Because
Yeah.
it's expensive. But if you're like, hey, I don't want to get in the car and drive to the place to eat, then yeah. Anyway, so just kind of in closing here, what do you see for 2026 as far as the market is concerned? Um, are you thinking that we're going to finally start to see interest rates drop? Is it going to be a big year for incentivizing, or just is it going to be, or are we going to have some other tariff related curveball coming our way that we can't predict right now?
So every time I've made a like this is what's going to happen a prediction, it's been dead wrong.
Right.
Because yeah, just because it's so volatile and it changes so for so many different reasons. It seems like that things change, but I think it's going to be a perpetuation of last year. There's going to be some hit or misses that dealerships are selling hot, like the Grand Highlanders and the Lexus GX 550s that they're going to be able to market adjust. There's going to
Yeah.
be our losers. I think this is a learning period for manufacturers, and
Yeah.
they're going to trial and error on things, and some things going to be losers, but we're going to get it straight. This is just going to be a perpetuation, I think, of last year. And deals, it's definitely a consumer's market. It's getting better for
Oh
us,
yeah.
for sure.
100%. Yeah. I'm glad you brought up the manufacturers, because what we started to see last year, and I think we're going to see a lot more of, is that, and I give social media a lot of credit for this, by the way. Manufacturers are listening to their consumers in ways that they historically never did,
Hmm.
right? And the fact that now, I mean, because it used to be, and a lot of people might not realize this, but it used to be just small hand selected focus groups that come in, answer some questions from a manufacturer. Maybe they look at some upcoming products, they get some feedback that way. Now, everything they do, everything they reveal, every decision they make is getting either praised or roasted in real time by the whole
Right.
world, right?
Right.
So
That's
you're
awesome.
seeing it is, and
Yeah.
you're seeing people or manufacturers walk back decisions that they made. Now, again, a lot of what we're seeing right now, and this is, I'm just kind of going on a tangent here, but I think it's important for people to understand this, that engine downsizing and other decisions that people see and they're like, why would they do this? It's like, you have to understand that there was a ton of pressure from regulators and governments of the world to do things like that. Otherwise, they would pay massive, massive, massive fines. Um, so like Stellantis really going through it with a lot of their products, like on the Dodge side, getting rid of the Hemi and all this, and they're like, why on earth would they do that? It's like, well, they thought they were looking at billions of dollars in fines, and
Yeah.
so it's nice to see some regulation get scaled back so that we can all kind of get back to what consumers want to buy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see manufacturers making they're changing course in
Hmm.
record speed now, and I think that's because of people utilizing social media to let their voice be heard about how they feel about things.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
So it's going to be an exciting year. I'm optimistic that the industry is trending towards normalcy, and that means consumer market, right? Like it
Yep.
has almost always been. I think that's good for the market in general because it forces dealers to be better.
Sure. I think guys like yourself too, Doug, you, Russ, other guys that are actually on the other side of the desk from me, right? That are working in the industry hands on with consumers, putting out good material like you do. And like Texas Car Guy just came about. He's been doing a lot of stuff. I
Yeah.
love that GM's getting on there, being positive, running the team. Everything you guys do and embody is awesome for the business because it shows people there's good people, good dealerships, and that not everybody is the picture that guys like me unfortunately have to paint.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, awesome. Well, Billy, I really appreciate you being here with me today. Any closing thoughts that you have?
I just wanted to say thanks, man. I was like totally taken back when you even asked me to be on here, so I really appreciate it, man.
No, I mean, the pleasure's mine. It's been fun getting to know you over the last, it's about a year and a half now that I've been doing this, but you were one of the first kind of accounts that came across. And I just am, I know that a lot of dealerships don't like you because of what they believe that you're doing.
Yep,
Uh, I think that what you're doing is a good thing. And and the way I look at it is that if consumers are willing to hire you, then that is just proof that overall the industry has a lot of work to do,
yep,
right? Because
yep,
like you said, somebody like even myself or another sales manager somewhere else could be saying something to a customer and they're like, I don't believe it. No, this is
right,
bad. And then you come in and you say, no, actually, that is correct. And immediately the trust is there because they
yep,
trust you and not that manager they're talking to. And it just proves that we have a lot of work to do as an industry to
for
repair that
sure.
trust and to provide a better experience.
My hope is, and I put up a map on my website that just anytime I have a good experience at a dealership, um, I put them on my map. And
Yeah.
if I have a customer or a person there that I work with, then I'll reach out to that dealership when I'm in that area first, right? And
Yeah.
I do that with hopes that everybody will go to my map on my website when they're shopping and only look at the dealerships that I've had good results with that didn't do any of the quote unquote shady things. And I never put any of the bad dealerships on there. So I'm just only pushing you to good ones. And eventually, hopefully, if we all go to the right places, the bad ones will go away.
And that's amazing that you're doing that because that's basically free information for the public, right?
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, Billy, I appreciate you very much. Thanks again
Thanks,
for
man.
being here. And until next time, talk
Yeah,
to you
brother.
soon.
Thank you. Pleasure was
Cool.
all mine. Thank you.